From dog tags to ownership, heroes take the lead. Stories of veterans building dreams with passion, drive, and speed. From service to success, we're here to inspire the quest. Dog tags to ownership, we're the best. Take the prize.
From the battlefield to the boardroom, this is Dog Tags to Ownership, the podcast where veterans share their journeys from serving our nation to leading in business. Hear inspiring stories of grit, growth, and the entrepreneurial spirit that drives those who've served to succeed. Tune in and take the first step toward your own mission in entrepreneurship.
Military One Percenters, welcome to Dog Tags to Ownership, where once a week we interview veterans who charted a path towards entrepreneurship. Our goals are to share resources, advice, and success stories about starting a business, discuss strategies for building financial independence and creating your own path, and most importantly, build a community to support each other through the challenge of transitioning from service life to civilian ownership. Today, we are extremely excited to introduce our guest to the show, Dan Clare, Chief Communications and Outreach Officer for the Disabled American Veterans, a nonprofit organization that helps veterans of all generations with benefits, healthcare, employment, and more. Dan is a U.S. Marine Corps and Air Force veteran who has worked with the DAV in various communication roles for over 20 years. Dan, welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much for joining us today to discuss your work with DAV.
Hey, thanks a lot, Julie. Thanks, Matt. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, we're really excited to bring you on today to talk about the Disabled American Veterans, DAV, and what all you provide for our veterans and our active duty service members. I know it's more for veterans, but what you do provide for our veterans. But to start, can you just tell our listeners about yourself and your background?
Sure. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I started enlisted at 17, one of those folks. I went through the Defense Information School, so I was combat correspondent / public affairs person, and I've been doing that basically my whole professional career. So DAV, I've been with DAV for 20 years now. Started, actually my roommate from military journalism school worked for DAV and got me a position over here. And I've been at this for 20 years. It's a great way to help veterans.
So prior to your roommate from PAO school getting you acquainted with DAV, did you know anything about DAV before he attracted you to it? Or what was your knowledge of DAV, and then what drew you to go work with for an organization such as DAV?
I think for me, I knew about DAV. My grandfather was a DAV member, and DAV doesn't have a lot of chapter housing. Like we don't have like headquarters very often, but we had one in my hometown in Lincoln, Nebraska. So I knew a little bit about DAV that way and through thrift stores mainly. But what drew me to DAV was that, I was after 9/11, not that far after 9/11. In 2004, I started with DAV. And it was just, I was in advertising before that, and it felt, it wasn't real rewarding to help rich people get a whole lot richer. So I go into DAV, starting a career with DAV, joining the organization, it felt like a way to give back. And if you remember back, it's going to be we're going on 25 years since 9/11 or wherever we're at on that. I felt like I wanted to do something important that way, and I found it.
Yeah, and I know DAV started in 1920, so you guys are coming up on your 105-year anniversary at some point, or you just had it because you just said you came back from the National Convention. But with DAV, can you just talk a little bit about what you all provide for our disabled service members and what founded the organization, and then where it is today, and what all you do?
Sure. I mean, 1920, you got to imagine there was no Department of Veterans Affairs. There was no centralized safety net for veterans should they be changed in service. And they were coming back from like the largest mechanized war ever. So we had people who were gassed, who were missing limbs, severely disformed, by their injuries. And so DAV was just a group of veterans who got together and said, we got to change this. We got to take care of one another. If we don't do it, nobody's going to. And so that was the start of DAV in 1920. Early on, we were focused on benefits and getting programs in place so that veterans could lead lives that were basically at their maximum potential. We knew that people were changed. Maybe you weren't able to work 100% any longer, but we wanted to get people on a track where they were fulfilled, where they were doing important things, that the government was taking care of them, that their health care related to their military service was taken care of. So that's kind of where it all began. Over the last 100 years, DAV's changed a little bit, changed and evolved. The missions kind of stayed the same, but helping veterans with benefits is still the number one thing we do. No one does that on the level that DAV does, both I think in terms of how many people we represent and the quality of service that we offer them. We have 1,200, I think, chapter level service officers. So we have volunteers, and then we have over 250 at any given point veterans who are professionally trained attorneys, in fact, who will help veterans through that process. So benefits is a big part of it. We know, in 1987, the VA changed some rules, and they used to provide transportation or vouchers for transportation to and from medical appointments for veterans. And that program ended in 1987. So DAV got involved by engaging volunteers. So we provide transportation to and from medical appointments. We're always looking for volunteers. We're always interested in helping veterans who need help with that. And so, yeah, we've taken care of veterans benefits. Now we've expanded to employment, and we partner with an organization called Recruit Military, and we do about 100 career fairs a year nationwide for veterans. And that just expanded naturally into entrepreneurship, which is our newest program that I'm really happy with. I know we'll talk about that in a little bit, but we're growing. We just expanded to make a caregivers initiative, a nationwide program level initiative at DAV. We're really excited about taking care of spouses, other folks who love veterans, who want to take care of veterans, but who sacrifice a lot on their way to doing that. So, of course, we're a legislative voice in Washington, D.C., the PACT Act, things like that, advance funding for the VA so that we don't lose our benefits if the government shuts down, things like that. DAV's been really involved in, and we're really proud of that work as well.
And can you talk a little bit more about eligibility, I guess, for folks that are seeking your services? Like, for instance, I'm in the process of transitioning, retiring from active duty, going through the claims process with the VA. So, what type of services would I be eligible for?
Well, congratulations on that. If it's a big move. You're going through it right now, and that it's not like you have a check-in sheet when you become a civilian like you would at a military unit. So if you're we talk about service-connected disabled veteran for the purposes of joining DAV. It's in a time of war. It's pretty wide open though. DAV benefits advocates will help you with not just your claims for benefits, they'll help you with other federal government forms and things like that, getting onto your GI Bill. And we provide assistance on that level. It's where you don't have to be a member of DAV to take advantage of any service that we offer. Everything's free of charge, no obligation to join DAV, to feel a certain way politically, nothing like that. The services are wide open for folks. We want them to take advantage. If you're a survivor of a veteran, if you're the widowed spouse of a veteran or widower spouse of a veteran, we're here for you too. In those offices is where we provide most of that. In your case, what's the most important thing for a veteran in terms of services DAV provides? It might be your benefits. That's certainly something that we want to help people with. We have transition service officers who are on the base participating in your TAPS program, but we want to get to you as soon as possible because those are benefits that you've earned. We want to make sure that you're getting what you've earned. And we know that can be a frustrating process going through a bureaucracy. Veterans, I think, get frustrated because you feel like, earn this. This isn't a subjective thing. I was injured in service. I was changed in service. I was exposed to things in service. My ears ring when I'm going to bed at night. And you kind of feel sometimes like, well, that's really hard to have to go in and fight someone possibly who never served in the military to try and get those benefits. So we want to be there for you and walk you through that. But then also, if you're looking for a job, we want to help you with that. We have these career fairs. We're matching people with employers. That's a really important thing. If you're looking to start a business, that's going to be important to you. Patriot Boot Camp's there for you. Now, as time goes on, if your child needs volunteer hours, we want to help them do that, and we provide scholarships. I mean, there's a wide range of other programs and services we offer that I'm not talking about. But for you, when you're transitioning out of service, I want to get your benefits. and I want to get you a job. I want to get you your next mission, because the longer you're out of the service, the harder it is to make that part of the transition. And it's an important one. And we don't want people with giant kind of holes in their resume. Not that's surmountable as well, but we want to get people to the point where they feel good about what they're doing in life and they're able to take care of their families.
So Dan, you mentioned the DAV Patriot Boot Camp, and here at Dog Tags to Ownership, our key goal is to help our listeners and followers build a community to get into entrepreneurship or to hear stories of current military or veterans who are entrepreneurs or business owners. Can you just tell us a little bit about the DAV Patriot Boot Camp and what all you all offer?
Sure. I mean, Patriot Boot Camp it was a separate charity founded by civilians. And I say that because we have civilians who are involved as volunteers with that program, and they're very important. But it's not for military folks who might be interested. It's not boot camp in any other sense than we're going to try and cram a lot of information into a short period of time. Founded by civilians. There's no way that a military person would say something that often starts at 8:30 or 9 in the morning is boot camp, but it's a fun program. It's 2.5 days long. Our next one is October 15 through 17. You can always learn more about it at patriotbootcamp.org. The program is centered on network and building blocks. In 2.5 days, we're not going to give anyone an MBA, and we're not trying to do that, but we are trying to recalibrate people to just help them make those few adjustments they need to make early on that gives them a good trajectory for their venture. Most of the people who participate are founders. We have other programming for folks who are earlier in their career. Maybe they're in an ideation stage with their business, and we may be doing more programming for those folks. For the people who've been through the program, we may have alumni programming coming up, which is important as well. But mostly we're looking for people who are generally founders, CEOs, people who have their own business. It's usually not franchises. It's not nonprofits, it's for-profits. And we're going to make a pretty significant investment in those folks in those 2.5 days. We want to make sure that they're people who've invested in themselves. They're people who are going to be able to do more for their fellow veterans and to support the cohort. So we're looking at about 50 people per cohort. That's a good full cohort for us. Founders who are basically at around the same level. And then you're going to get, we have a total of 4 solid hours of mentorship with CEOs, people who are venture capitalists, people who are in legal fields, marketing, things like that, who can provide really hands-on guidance, feedback, walk you through things, ask you the questions that maybe you haven't considered. A lot of these people are CEOs who are mentors, are people who are CEOs who made a few mistakes early in their career. Not that entrepreneurs ever make mistakes, right? But they have some bumps and bruises, and they want to help other people. They get a kick out of helping veterans, especially, participate in a program that's going to help them avoid those mistakes. Spouses are also eligible for the program. It's free. You have to pay to get here. You have to pay for your lodging, and that lodging's up to you. We have hotels and stuff, but that's up to the veteran to pick that or the spouse. And then we're going to try and load as much into 2.5 days to make you successful. We're at the same time building a community, and each cohort is kind of its own community. And those relationships last beyond the scope of the events. The relationships with mentors last, and the lessons last. And that's a little bit about Patriot Boot Camp.
Yeah, so I know one thing that you guys offer, I think at Patriot Boot Camp, and I think the one in October, you all do the pitch contest. Can you talk about the pitch contest and what that is and how that runs, I guess, throughout the year?
Yeah, absolutely. We just did a pitch contest at our national convention in Las Vegas, and it's $10,000 was the purse for that. One recipient was going to win that. It has a great AI company. Yusuf is awesome. But for the $10,000 on the line to win, those participants had hours on top of hours of pitch training that came with that. And it's the same thing at cohorts. It's a big part of it. Funding is one of the biggest shortcomings we see for veterans. It's one of the biggest hurdles because they're not like other entrepreneurs necessarily. They weren't when other folks were in their parents' garages or basements starting their multi-billion-dollar company. Veterans were serving their country. So we're trying to help them with those types of hurdles. And by helping people refine and hone a good pitch, that's going to open a lot of doors for them. One of our volunteers, Ray Antonino, is someone who's one of the top authorities in our country when it comes to preparing people to pitch. He gives a ton of his time. Ray opens his door for people who are Patriot Boot Camp alums. Every Saturday, he keeps open office hours to mentor, to help people prepare last minute for something, just to be there to help them if they feel like their marketing needs a little bit of assistance. And he's just one of the great people who make up that community that supports veterans. Ray happens to be a veteran himself, but we have all kinds of folks who are involved, and we need mentors as well if someone's listening.
And you mentioned, I think this is a newer opportunity through DAV, and that was created by donors or folks that fundraised toward, I guess, or sponsored it, charitable organizations.
No, actually, I mean, they were people who were involved with Techstars. I mean, a big chunk of them came out of Techstars, which I'm sure you all are familiar with. They started their own charity, and going into COVID, DAV got involved. We sponsored one of their events. We attended their events, and we said, this is a program that can really, really help people. I mean, we're always looking for that, like, you get a lot of base hits if you help veterans for a living. You get a lot of, I increased your compensation, your disability compensation in a way that's going to help your life and everything. This is something where like we can literally make people millionaires. We can connect people with government contracts that will make their businesses skyrocket. So we got involved. We talked to their board talked to us, and they decided, well, what if we became a DAV program? We wouldn't have to fundraise. We wouldn't have to maintain kind of that bureaucracy that every starting charity kind of has to have. So we absorbed Patriot Boot Camp into DAV, and then Patriot Boot Camp's turned around and absorbed its way into DAV. We have entrepreneurs who are involved in our discussions involving women veterans and our reports and legislative efforts for women veterans. We have people involved in government contracting, and we're looking at how can we support expanding Vets First contracting opportunities through the Department of Defense, like we have with the VA? So the people with Patriot Boot Camp, our caregiver program came from a Patriot Boot Camp alum who started his own company. That company, we said, well, this is a great thing. And he said, well, if DAV was involved, we could offer this service to a lot more veterans. So that, it's one of those things with entrepreneurs, veteran entrepreneurs, there's that special resilience. And in almost every case, we see a special desire to give back and support the community. And that's what we see.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, Dan, but I think from all the merging and acquisitions with Techstars, USA, DAV, is that what created the National Veterans Entrepreneurship Council? Is that all who's involved in that?
That actually came from that. Those original folks were the board members for DAV Patriot Boot Camp. And we said, well, gosh, we got the program, and we have these people who are they have incredible experiences, and we needed that kind of advice. We don't have it. We didn't start this with a huge institutional knowledge of entrepreneurship. So we said, well, let's keep these folks involved, and we're going to continue to keep them involved. They all give back tremendously for the program. It's volunteers who make the program work. So we're interested in a big tent and keeping a good community of happy, active, engaged volunteers who are rewarded by the impact that they have on other people.
And so when you go, so say one of our listeners or followers wants to come to DAV Patriot Boot Camp, and when they come there, I know you have it set up where there's a lot of different folks for them to talk to, legal, financial, all those types of I guess, different SMEs on how to start a business or run a business. But is one thing, do you all bring in folks from the Small Business Bureau, Business America to help with like funding options and there's different things out there for veterans to utilize when they're looking at building a business?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. We find that there's not a lot of one size fits all solutions for veteran entrepreneurs. So we're planning our next cohort, and we're looking at a panel to talk about funding, and we're going to cover venture capital. We're going to cover bootstrapping, and we're going to cover SBA. We're going to try and have SBA represented there to talk about lending options that the SBA provides. We try and talk about government procurement. That's not for everyone, but being procurement ready is something that's probably important to nearly everyone who's going to be an entrepreneur. We had this panel recently, and we have someone who works, she's an academy grad, and her company invests in academy grads. That's like their thing for venture capital. And we had someone there who was a bootstrapping person, and she's giving advice saying very objectively, this is for you if in this case, it's maybe not for you in this case. And they get over to this veteran who's super involved, supports the program. And he says, venture capital is like heroin. You take it one time and you die, or you need it all the time, and it's like that kind of objective. What fits me? We're looking for those answers at DAV Patriot Boot Camp, and we're looking to help people find those answers.
I imagine much like transitioning out, there's no playbook or roadmap for it. It's a little bit of a puzzle that we're all trying to figure out. And I think why Julie created this podcast to, again, bridge some of those information gaps. So where do you see the boot camp going, I guess, in the future? Do you see it becoming larger? Do you see a just expansion of how many veterans or other folks that you can affect in a positive manner? Like where do you see it going in the next 5 years?
That's a great question, Matt. And it's funny because like we talk about that, like scaling, when you talk about a charity, scaling is something where you just hope to God you get the funding you need to support the programs you have, and that's scaling. A lot of that is how charities scale. But with Patriot Boot Camp, we're looking at things very differently. And we're having experts involved in the conversation about scaling. It's hard at our current staffing. We have about 3 cohorts a year, and we want to add on an alumni event to that. And we want to maintain a pitch contest. We're doing these caffeine connects where if you go to Patriot Boot Camp and you sign up for more information, we're going to send you updates about things like that. So we're trying to cover a wide range of areas there. But where I think one of the areas where we're growing is in partnerships. We're working with a group called Owners in Honor. Patrick Flood's involved in that. You guys are nodding your heads because you know Patrick pretty well. We're working with him to do a summer event in Utah next year that will be a little bit of a hybrid of a Patriot Boot Camp cohort meets larger needs for people who want ownership through acquisition, things like that. We're working with Robert Irvine's foundation. He's been a great friend of the program. DAV supports his Reuniting the Brave initiative to help veterans get together and connect with resources and one another after they've been out of service. But Robert's involved in these cohorts, and you want to talk about someone who can give veterans very unvarnished, straight talk about how he feels about where they're at with their businesses. He's kind of like the Simon Cowell of DAV Patriot Boot Camp that way. He's a tough talker, but there's a lot of love that goes with Robert Irvine. I don't know if you guys have been around him at all or got to meet him, but he's super active in the U.S. veterans community. He's a British veteran, Navy veteran as well, Royal Navy veteran. And so we're looking at maybe some advanced programming where we take some of the people who we know, gosh, this person's got $1 billion idea at DAV Patriot Boot Camp, or this person with the right instruction, with the right resources, with the right connections could explode. Could be curing cancer, literally curing cancer, could be changing people's lives in miraculous ways. So we're kind of looking at opportunities like that and then just following the flow. As long as the demand's there, we're filling a 50-person cohort. We're pretty stoked about that. That's 150 people a year, but that's 150 businesses. So how many jobs is that going to be for veterans? How much funding is that going to be flowing to these folks? So we're looking at ways we can grow, and we got a lot of great voices. We're trying to be good partners. We've partnered with IVMF, Syracuse University in the past, and they run a top-notch gold standard program. So we're looking at partners and looking at how we can help and get more involved. I could see us going into mentorship where it's not tied to a cohort because the demand's there and we have the community to support it. But you kind of grow carefully too, because I don't want to start something and not be able to follow through or not be able to provide the quality that we want for the veterans we're helping out.
Yeah, and you answered one of my questions. Is I was going to ask you if you all had reached out to Bunker Lab Syracuse to partner with them because your programs are somewhat similar, and how you help veterans with getting into entrepreneurship. So that's great news to hear that you guys are working with them and partnering with them. We've brought a few people on to the podcast who's gone through the Bunker Labs program, and they all talk very highly of it and how it helped them through their entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah, Bunker Labs is a great example. That DAV Patriot Boot Camp folks, some of them, I mean, they weren't with DAV Patriot. They were coming out of DAV Patriot Boot Camp, and they had their own founders and stuff. But some of the people in our community, it's a small world when you get into veteran. I mean, it's a massive world when you consider 5% of all businesses are run by veterans or whatever the figure is. But we've been involved in that, and that's an example of something that DAV does, we are not in a position right now where we're helping people at the community level like that. So partnering with Syracuse to support Bunker Labs or something, feeding our folks out and making sure that they know of the other programs that are available to them is something of interest to us for sure.
I think the beauty with a program like this is, and Julie and I have talked about it, I think with other guests, but sort of that snowball effect that occurs where you're getting veterans that have this passion to become business owners or entrepreneurs, and then they in turn have success through the program, and then they want to give back, right? It continues to grow momentum. So I feel like you're in a beautiful stage in this where it's going to continue to almost support itself through veterans that have success in it and also give back. And on top of being on the Dog Tax Ownership podcast, obviously, you're probably going to get all kinds of, interest in it after this episode airs if you didn't need any more.
I want as many people as I can to apply for Patriot Boot Camp, because those are people that even if they don't make it into a cohort, we have other resources we can help them out with. We can send them to different places, things like that. But I tell people I want to get the best possible cohort, because there's only so much that DAV is doing. And then it's our volunteers who are doing the lion's share of the work. But then the people in the cohort are the ones who make the cohort. They're the team. So the better the team is going into it, the more impactful the event's going to be for everyone involved. And yeah, I mean, we want as many people as possible to apply. If you don't get in the first time, come back. Take some feedback, take some advice, and come back and stay in touch, because we're not just going to talk to you about the Patriot Boot Camp. We're going to provide some stuff on, well, you're a franchise and you don't necessarily fit the mold for Patriot Boot Camp. I still have a mentor who I can turn you on to right away who specializes in this and can help you out on that level. So we're looking for the maximum amount of involvement that we can get. And if I had 1,000 people, apply for a Patriot Boot Camp cohort, that would tell me that it would be a responsible move to scale. Now we need to really build it up. But we're getting about 350 applicants for every cohort to get down to 50. So that's, there's a lot of people that we're turning away, but a lot of those people are coming back subsequently to get in when maybe they didn't before, or to get in for alumni stuff.
Dan, with that, can you just tell our listeners and followers how they could apply to Patriot Boot Camp?
Yeah, I mean, everything you need to know about Patriot Boot Camp, visit patriotbootcamp.org. It's all there. You can apply right now. It's open. We're looking at Myrtle Beach next year when the weather's crappy everywhere else. People can go visit, Myrtle Beach, and that community is rolling out the red carpet for us. So thank you to everyone who's involved with that. We're looking at Utah again next year, trying to get back to DAV's national headquarters near Cincinnati again, because we love having people come visit here, and we have a great community of entrepreneurs locally who get involved as mentors. But yeah, patriotbootcamp.org. Real quick too, because I think this is just as important, benefitsquestions.org. A lot of you entrepreneurs out there, you didn't file for benefits, and then it became the thing that you were going to put this time into, and you were going to reserve this time, and then you didn't get to it, and you got busy with other things. You earned those benefits. And now having those benefits means having health care on a different level as well. So get the benefits you've earned. It can help you as an entrepreneur. You can find out more about other resources that are available through the Department of Veterans Affairs. But benefitsquestions.org, don't go it alone. Get someone to help you through that process. It's just as important to me as Patriot Boot Camp or any other service we offer, because it's life-changing.
I appreciate you bringing that up, and I'll definitely put both of those sites into our show notes, and then also link them to useful resources on our website. And then one thing I'd be remiss, we talked prior to this about a month ago, and something that us at Dog Tags Ownership is wanting to partner with you all. So I am trying to plan still to come out there to Cincinnati for the Patriot Boot Camp, to at least be there for a day and a half to interview entrepreneurs and bring them on to give their pitch or tell their story for the podcast. So we really appreciate you all inviting us and allowing us to come out there to do that, because I do think when it comes to Dog Tags Ownership, it's about building a community. And one thing that I'm very passionate about, and talking with you and then Patrick Flood, is building that community, and how do we continue to help our military members, our veterans, in this journey from turning their dog tags into ownership. So we're really excited about that. But as we get to wrap up here, Dan, was there anything that we didn't ask you that you would like to talk about or bring up about DAV?
I mean, I'm just telling veterans to get involved in DAV, whether it's legislatively, we make it pretty easy to get involved in policy, but I do want to thank you both for what you're doing. Dog tags to ownership. We hear all the time that people just didn't know about the resources that were available to them. We hear that constantly. And some of this stuff, I mean, an IVMF program or a DAV Patriot Boot Camp program to go through those. Warrior Rising's another great program helping veterans. Just to get through that program, you're talking about thousands of dollars of value that you're going to get out of that. So thank you all for making people aware of that and just being good veterans yourselves.
Yeah, Dan, and thank you for taking the time and bearing with my audio issues on this end and all the incredible work that you're doing for DAV. I went on the website today as I was kind of doing some research for the podcast. It's a great website. It's very intuitive. It's easy to find information on there. So kudos to you and the entire organization for what you're all doing. And hopefully, we look at it like this. If we can affect one person who can affect another person, who can affect another, again, creating that snowball effect and just making it a better place for veterans and making more information accessible.
Military One Percenters, whether you're brainstorming your first business idea, already running a company, or just curious about where to start, Dog Tags to Ownership is the place for you. Please hit that subscribe button to receive all new episodes. Also, if you know someone who has turned their dog tags into ownership, drop us a DM on social media or tag someone. We are always looking for new guests to bring onto the podcast. And as always, Military One Percenters, thank you for your service. Let's continue this journey and working together to write our next chapter. Until next week, keep pushing to turn those dog tags into ownership.
From dog tags to ownership, heroes take the lead. Stories of veterans building trains with passion, drive, and speed. From service to success, we're here to inspire the quest. Dog tags to ownership, we're the best.